Hey everyone! It's great to have you here. Before we begin, I'd really appreciate a quick like. It helps the channel and motivates me to keep creating more stories. One quick update. Poll number 33 has just gone live on Patreon. ***, every story released on this channel is chosen through these Patreon polls, so now's your chance to help decide what comes next. If you're enjoying this story, the next 2 or more parts, and the first chapter of the next story are already waiting for you on Patreon. New content is added every day, with over 1,000 audio story chapters and exclusive stories you'll never find on YouTube. All the links are in the description and pinned comment. Enjoy the story. The house was quiet when Naruto pushed the door open. Evening light spilled across the polished wooden floor of the Uzumaki home, warm and familiar. He dropped his mission pack by the entrance, rolled his shoulders, and exhaled. Another successful assignment. Another day of being the Hokage's strongest asset. The smell of miso and grilled fish drifted from the kitchen. Kushina was home. He kicked off his sandals and walked deeper into the house, yellow hair still damp from the quick rinse at the mission desk. Everything looked normal. The same low table. The same framed photo of the two of them from last year's festival. The same soft hum of the village outside the paper screens. He had no idea that in less than an hour nothing would ever feel normal again. On your knees. The command was soft, almost gentle, but it left no room for argument. Naruto's bare knees hit the tatami with a dull sound. The thick black collar around his throat felt heavier than any mission weight he had ever carried. Kushina stood above him in nothing but a loose black robe that hung open, red hair cascading over one shoulder like living fire. She held the end of the leash loosely in one hand, the other resting on her hip. "Look at me!" He raised his eyes. Her blue gaze was calm, almost fond, and that made the heat in his face burn hotter. She stepped closer until the soft skin of her inner thigh brushed his cheek. The scent of her, warm skin, faint soap, and something darker, filled his head. "You spent the entire day thinking about this, didn't you?" she murmured. "About how easy it would be to just give in." Her fingers slid into his hair and tightened. "Good boy." Some time ago, Naruto found the box on a rainy Thursday. He had been looking for an old scroll his mother mentioned. Something about sealing theory she wanted him to review. The bottom drawer of her wardrobe stuck the way it always did. He tugged harder. The drawer came free with a soft scrape, and behind the folded winter yukata sat a long black box he had never seen before. Curiosity 1. He lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on dark velvet, lay a thick leather collar the color of midnight. A short silver chain was attached to a heavy D-ring at the front. Beside it rested a folded length of black rope, a slim leather paddle, and 3 smaller items wrapped in cloth that he did not immediately recognize. The smell of treated leather rose up to meet him, clean, sharp, intimate. His stomach dropped. For a long moment he simply stared. Then he closed the lid carefully, as if the objects might vanish if he looked away, and carried the box into the living room. Kushina was setting 2 bowls of rice on the table. She looked up, red hair tied in its usual high ponytail, the sleeves of her simple green blouse rolled to the elbows. The soft domestic picture of her clashed violently with the weight in his hands. "Naruto?" She tilted her head. "What's that?" He set the box on the table between them, and opened it again without a word. Silence stretched. Kushina's expression did not change the way he expected. No shock. No embarrassment. Only a slow, considering stillness. She dried her hands on a cloth, walked around the table, and looked down at the contents as if she were examining mission equipment. "So," she said quietly, "you found it. What is this?" His voice came out rougher than he intended. She closed the lid with one finger. "Exactly what it looks like. You're—" He could not finish the sentence. "A dominatrix when I choose to be." She met his eyes without flinching. "I have been for a long time. Before you were born. After. I simply never brought it home." The room felt smaller. Naruto's heart hammered against his ribs. "Why keep it here?" "Because I decided it was time you knew." Kushina pulled out a chair and sat, completely composed. "You are an adult now. You carry the village on your shoulders. You still flinch when someone raises their voice at you in the right way. You still seek approval like a boy who never stopped needing it. I can give you something the village never will." He stared at her. "You're my mother. I am." Her voice remained calm, almost gentle. And I am also the woman who is going to teach you what real control feels like. Starting tonight if you stay in this house. The words landed like a seal activating under his skin. Naruto should have walked out. He should have laughed, or shouted, or demanded she explain herself further. Instead he stood frozen while heat crawled up the back of his neck and settled low in his stomach. Kushina watched him with the same quiet intensity she once used when teaching him basic seals as a child. Only the lesson had changed. Sit down, she said. Eat. We will talk after. He sat. Dinner passed in strange, charged silence. The miso was perfect. The fish was flaky. Naruto tasted none of it. Every time he glanced up, Kushina was already looking at him, calm, assessing, patient. She asked ordinary questions about the mission. He answered in short sentences. The ordinary words felt like they belonged to someone else's life. When the bowls were empty she rose, collected them, and left him alone at the table for several minutes. He heard water running. The soft sound of a cupboard closing. His own breathing was too loud in his ears. She returned without the apron. The green blouse was gone. In its place she wore a simple black robe that reached mid-thigh, tied loosely at the waist. Her red hair was down now, falling past her shoulders in thick waves. The change was small and absolute. Naruto's mouth went dry. Come with me, she said. He followed her down the short hallway to her bedroom. The door closed behind them with a quiet click that sounded final. The black box waited on the low table beside the bed. Kushina sat on the edge of the mattress and gestured to the floor in front of her. Kneel. The single word left no space to negotiate. Naruto's knees folded almost of their own accord. The tatami was cool through his trousers. He kept his eyes on the floorboards until her bare foot slid into his field of vision and nudged his chin up. Look at me when I speak to you. He looked. Her eyes were the same bright blue they had always been, but something behind them had shifted. The soft maternal warmth was still there. He could still see it, but it sat beside a sharper, hungrier focus he had never been allowed to notice before. You are going to listen carefully, she said. From this moment, when we are alone in this house, you will address me as Miss when I require it. You will not touch yourself without permission. You will not come without permission. You will answer every question honestly. Do you understand? His throat worked. Yeah? Try again. Heat flooded his face. Yes, Mississippi. The corner of her mouth curved, not quite a smile. Good. Stand up and undress. Fold your clothes neatly. His hands shook as he pulled the orange jacket off, then the black shirt beneath. The trousers followed. He folded everything the way she asked and set the pile aside. Standing in front of his mother should have felt impossible. Instead, the air against his skin only made the ache between his legs more obvious. Kushina's gaze traveled over him without hurry. Broad shoulders, the lines of muscle earned through years of training, the half-hard length of him already rising under her attention. She showed no surprise. Only quiet approval. Come closer. He stepped between her parted knees. She reached up and traced one fingertip along the underside of his sword, light enough to make his breath hitch. The touch lasted 3 seconds. Then it was gone. You're already this hard just from being told what to do, she observed. Interesting. Naruto's ears burned. He could not look away from her face. She opened the black box, lifted the collar, and held it out. This stays on until I take it off. Turn around. He turned. Soft leather settled against his throat. The buckle clicked shut, not tight enough to restrict breathing, but firm enough that he felt every swallow. The short chain hung against his chest. When she gave the leash a gentle tug, he stepped back toward her without thinking. On your knees again. He sank down. This time the position felt different. The collar made it real. Kushina rested both hands on her thighs and looked down at him for a long moment, as if memorizing the picture he made. Tonight is only the beginning, she said softly. I am going to take my time with you. I am going to teach you what it means to belong to someone completely. And you are going to thank me for it. Naruto's pulse thundered in his ears. Somewhere deep under the shock and the shame, something hungry and frightened and desperately curious uncurled. He whispered the only words that felt possible. Yes, Mississippi. Kushina rose from the bed in one smooth motion and walked a slow circle around him. The soft black robe whispered against her skin. She stopped behind him, close enough that he felt the heat of her body, and rested both hands on his shoulders. Straighten your back. Hands on your thighs. Eyes forward. He obeyed. The posture forced his chest open. The collar sat heavy and deliberate against his throat. Every breath reminded him it was there. Her fingers slid into his hair, nails lightly scraping his scalp. The sensation traveled straight down his spine. She tugged his head back until he was looking up at the ceiling, throat exposed. You have spent years giving orders, she murmured near his ear. Tonight you will only receive them. Do you understand the difference? Yes, Mississippi. Good. She released his hair and moved in front of him again. The robe had loosened. One smooth thigh was fully visible. The soft curve of her melon shifted when she breathed. Naruto's hardness twitched against his stomach. Kushina noticed. Of course she noticed. She crouched so they were almost eye level, still fully in control, and wrapped her fingers loosely around the base of his sword. Unfortunately, the platform doesn't allow me to include those kinds of details. But you can find the full uncensored version on Patreon. For just $4, you'll get access to over 1,000 scorching hot episodes. Fire. She stood, letting the robe fall completely open. She stepped closer until the heat of her treasure was only inches from his face. You may kiss here, she said, tapping the soft skin. Nowhere else. Not yet. Naruto leaned in. The first press of his mouth against her thigh was almost reverent. He felt her fingers tighten in his hair again, not painful, just present. He kissed higher, following the path she allowed, breathing in the warm, intimate scent of her. She let him stay there for a long time, simply breathing against her skin, until his lips were damp and his thoughts had gone soft and foggy at the edges. Enough. He sat back on his heels immediately. Kushina looked down at him with something that might have been pride. Stand up. Hands behind your back. He rose. The position left him completely open. The complete 18+ scene is waiting on Patreon for just $4. You are going to learn to finish only when I allow it, she said. You will go to sleep hard and aching, and tomorrow you will thank me for the lesson. Is that clear? Yes, Mississippi. She rewarded him with 3 firm strokes on his wand, enough to make his jerk, not enough to give real relief, then released him. Lie on the bed. On your back. Arms above your head. Naruto climbed onto the familiar mattress of his mother's bedroom and stretched out. The sheets still smelled faintly of her usual soap. Kushina climbed up beside him, knelt between his spread thighs, and simply looked at him for a while. The collar. The flushed face. The way his chest rose and fell too quickly. She leaned down and kissed the center of his chest, right over his heart. The gesture was almost tender. Then she bit the same spot hard enough to leave a mark. Naruto gasped. Mine, she whispered against the bruise. Say it. Yours, Mississippi. Again. I'm yours. She settled her weight over one of his thighs so he could feel the wet heat of her against his skin. Full uncensored 18+ scene available only on Patreon for $4. 1,000+ scorching hot episodes. You may sleep here tonight. The collar stays on. If you touch yourself while I am asleep, I will know. And the punishment will be considerably less pleasant than this. Naruto nodded, eyes still closed, chest still heaving. Kushina lay down beside him, pulled the blanket over them both, and rested one possessive hand on his stomach, just above the place where he throbbed. Good night, Naruto. He lay awake for a long time in the dark, collar warm against his throat, body singing with denied need, listening to his mother's steady breathing, and understood with terrifying clarity that he was already hers. Morning light filtered through the paper screens. Naruto woke hard, the collar still locked around his neck, Kushina's arm draped across his waist. For a few disorienting seconds he thought the entire night might have been a fever dream. Then she stirred, opened her eyes, and smiled the small, knowing smile of a woman who already owned every secret he had. Morning, she said, voice rough with sleep. How does my boy feel? Naruto swallowed. The answer came out quieter than he intended. Desperate, Mississippi. Her smile widened just a fraction. Perfect. That's exactly how I want you. She kissed the corner of his mouth, soft, almost chaste, then rolled out of bed, stretched, and began the ordinary routine of making breakfast as if nothing in their world had changed. Naruto lay still for another minute, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of the collar with every breath, and realized he had never been more terrified or more alive in his entire life. The real training had only just begun. If you're enjoying the story so far, I'd really appreciate a like, a subscription, and a comment. It really helps the channel grow and motivates me to keep creating more stories. Now, let's get back to the story. Naruto stood under the weak spray of the bathroom shower longer than necessary. Cold water ran down his shoulders and over the faint red mark Kushina's teeth had left on his chest. The collar was gone. She had unlocked it herself before breakfast with a quiet, "You may take it off for the day. Put it back on the moment you step through this door tonight." But the ghost of the leather still sat against his throat. Every time he swallowed he felt it. He dressed in the usual orange and black, tied the hitai, and left the house without looking at his mother. Kushina had been at the low table in her ordinary green blouse, reading a scroll as if the previous night had never happened. She only lifted her eyes once and said, calm as ever, "Have a good day, Naruto. Don't be late." The walk to the Hokage Tower felt longer than usual. The village was already awake. Merchants called out prices. Children ran past with training kunai. Everything looked exactly the same, and that made the secret under his skin burn hotter. Iruka was waiting near the mission desk with a stack of reports. "You're early for once," the older man said with a tired smile. "Long night?" Naruto's ears went hot. "Something like that." Iruka studied him for a second longer than comfortable. "You look different. Did something happen on the last mission?" "No. Just tired." Naruto took the reports and turned away before the conversation could dig deeper. He felt Iruka's eyes on his back all the way up the stairs. The day crawled. He signed forms. He listened to a long report from a border patrol. He nodded when Shikamaru muttered something about cloud formations and tactical advantages. None of it stayed in his head. Every time the door of his office opened he half expected to see red hair and a black robe. Every time it was only another shinobi with another problem that suddenly felt very small. By late afternoon the ache had become a constant low pulse. He had not touched himself. The rule was still loud in his mind even without the collar. When the final document was signed he left the tower almost at a run. The house was quiet when he stepped inside. The same warm light. The same smell of rice and something sweet. Kushina's voice came from the kitchen, ordinary and soft. "Shoes off. Collar on. Then come here." Naruto's hands moved before his brain caught up. He found the black leather on the low table by the door exactly where she had left it. The buckle clicked shut around his throat with a sound that felt louder than any explosion he had ever survived. The short chain rested against his chest. Instantly the day fell away. The village, the reports, Iruka's concerned eyes, all of it became background noise. He walked into the kitchen. Kushina stood at the counter in the same black robe from the night before, hair down, bare feet on the wooden floor. She did not turn around immediately. She finished slicing a peach, set the knife aside, and only then looked at him. Her gaze traveled from the collar down his body and back up again. A small, satisfied sound left her throat. "Good boy. You remembered." She wiped her hands, walked over, and hooked 2 fingers under the D-ring at the front of the collar. The gentle tug brought him closer until their chests almost touched. "How was your day?" she asked, as if they were having a normal conversation. "Long," he managed. "I couldn't stop thinking." "About what?" Naruto's face burned. "About last night. About the rules. And did you touch yourself?" "No, Mississippi." "Good." She released the ring and stepped back. "Take everything off. Fold it. Then kneel in the middle of the living room." He obeyed in silence. Jacket, shirt, trousers, underwear. Each piece folded the way she had shown him the night before. When he lowered himself to the tatami the air felt cooler against his skin. His sword was already half hard simply from the sound of her voice and the weight of the leather. Kushina walked a slow circle around him, bare feet silent. She stopped behind him and rested both hands on his shoulders the way she had the previous night. "Tonight will be longer," she said quietly. "I am going to take my time. You will not come. You will not beg unless I give you permission. If you break either rule, there will be consequences. Do you understand?" "Yes, Mississippi." "Then we begin." Kushina moved in front of him and let the black robe slip from her shoulders. It pooled on the floor with a soft sound. She stood in the warm evening light. Naruto's mouth went dry. She was his mother. She was also the most beautiful and terrifying thing he had ever seen. She stepped close enough that the tips of melon brushed his face when she breathed. One hand slid into his hair and tightened. "Open." He opened his mouth. She guided one sensitive button past his lips. Use your tongue. Naruto closed his eyes and obeyed. The soft weight of her melon filled his mouth. A quiet sound of approval left her throat. Her fingers stayed in his hair, controlling the angle, the depth, the pace. When she was satisfied, she pulled back and offered the other side. He treated it the same way, slow, obedient, almost worshipful. That's enough. She released him and walked to the low table where the black box waited. From it she took a length of soft black rope. Naruto watched, heart hammering, as she returned and knelt behind him. Arms behind your back. He put them there. She bound his wrists with quick, practiced movements, tight enough that he could not slip free, not tight enough to cut circulation. The rope was soft against his skin, but the helplessness it created was immediate and overwhelming. She finished with a secure knot and tugged once to test it. On your feet. Then lean forward and rest your chest on the table. The position left him bent over, arms useless behind his back, collar chains swinging under his throat. Kushina stood to the side and simply looked at him for a long moment. He felt her eyes like a physical touch. You have a beautiful body, she said quietly. Strong. Responsive. It is a shame no one has taken the time to train it properly before now. Her palm came down on his right pillow, not hard, just firm enough to sting and leave a faint pink mark. Naruto jerked forward against the table with a sharp breath. Stay still. She spanked him again on the other side, then again, building a slow, steady rhythm. Each impact was measured. Not cruel. Not playful. Instructional. The heat built under his skin in layers. By the 10th strike his wand was fully hard and leaking against the edge of the table. By the 20th his breathing had gone ragged and he trembled. Kushina stopped and rested both hands on the warm, sensitive skin she had just marked. Color? She asked softly. It took him a second to understand the question. Green. Mississippi. Good. She reached between his legs from behind. Some scenes are too hot for this platform. Find the full uncensored versions on Patreon. Stand up. Turn around. On your knees again. He struggled to obey with his arms still bound. Kushina helped him with a steady hand on his elbow, then stood in front of him once more. She was wet. He could see it clearly now, a thin shine. She cupped his face with both hands and leaned down until their foreheads touched. I'm going to use your mouth now, she said. You will keep your tongue soft and your jaw relaxed. You will breathe through your nose. If you need to stop, you will tap my twice. Do you understand? Yes, Mississippi. She guided his head forward. Craving every forbidden detail? The complete scene is available on Patreon. Tonight you will sleep like this, she said. Hard. Aching. Needing me. Tomorrow you will go to work again and carry this feeling with you all day. And when you come home you will put the collar on without being told, and kneel by the door. Is that clear? Yes, Mississippi. She leaned down and kissed him. When she pulled back her eyes were dark. I'm proud of you, she said quietly. My strong, perfect boy. You're already becoming exactly what I wanted. Then she rolled off him, pulled the blanket over them both, and settled against his side with one possessive hand resting on his chest, right over the bruise her teeth had left the night before. Naruto lay awake for a long time, staring at the ceiling, body thrumming, listening to his mother's breathing, and realized with a mixture of terror and helpless that he already could not imagine going back. The second half of the night came later, after he had finally drifted into a restless half-sleep. He woke to the feeling of soft ropes sliding around his ankles. Kushina was kneeling at the foot of the bed, still naked, red hair falling over one shoulder as she worked. She had already bound his wrists to the headboard while he slept. Now she finished securing his legs spread wide and sat back to examine her work. Naruto's heart slammed against his ribs. Miss? Shh. She crawled up his body and kissed the corner of his mouth. You were restless. I decided to help you stay still. She reached into the black box again, and this time brought out a slim leather paddle. The sight of it made his stomach flip. You did very well earlier, she said, almost conversational. But you also broke a small rule. You spoke without permission when I was using your mouth. Do you remember? He swallowed. Yes, Mississippi. Then you understand why this is necessary. She did not wait for an answer. The first strike of the paddle landed across the sensitive skin. Tears prickled at the corners of his eyes by the sixth strike. By the 10th he was breathing in short, desperate gasps. Kushina paused, set the paddle aside, and gently wiped the wetness from his cheeks with her thumbs. Color? Green, he choked out. Still green. Good boy. She rewarded him by wrapping her hand around his sword again. The best parts can't be shown here. Get the full uncensored experience on Patreon. When she finally stopped for good, Naruto was shaking, tears still wet on his temples, hardness flushed dark and leaking steadily onto his stomach. Kushina untied him carefully, massaged the red marks on his wrists and ankles, then pulled him into her arms. He buried his face against her neck and breathed her in like a man drowning. I've got you, she murmured into his hair. You're safe. You're mine. That's all that matters. They stayed like that for a long time. Eventually she made him drink more water, cleaned him gently with a warm cloth, and settled him back under the blanket with the collar still locked around his throat. Sleep, she ordered softly. Tomorrow we continue. Naruto closed his eyes. The last clear thought he had before exhaustion took him was that resistance no longer felt like an option, and the most terrifying part was how little that scared him anymore. Morning came too soon. Kushina woke him with a soft kiss to the forehead and the quiet instruction to remove the collar for the day. She made breakfast while he showered. When he stepped into the kitchen fully dressed, she looked him over once, nodded, and handed him a bento box as if this were any other ordinary morning. Don't be late tonight, was all she said. Naruto left the house with the taste of her still on his tongue and the memory of the paddle still burning on his thighs. The village looked the same as always. The Hokage tower waited. Iruka would probably ask again if he was feeling all right. None of it mattered. He already knew exactly where he would be the moment the sun went down. The Hokage's office felt too bright. Naruto sat behind the wide desk and tried to focus on the stack of mission reports Shikamaru had left for him. The words kept sliding out of focus. Every time he shifted in the chair, the lingering sensitivity between his legs reminded him exactly how the morning had started. He had not come. The rules sat in his chest like a second heart. The door slid open. Shikamaru stepped in, hands in his pockets, expression as lazy as ever. You're quieter than usual, the strategist said, dropping into the chair across from him. Did something happen? You look like you ran 10 laps around the village before breakfast. Naruto forced a crooked smile. Just didn't sleep great. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed a fraction. He was too smart for comfort. Your chakra feels unsettled. Not low. Just off. Like you're holding something back. I'm fine. If you say so. Shikamaru shrugged, but the thoughtful look did not leave his face. He spent the next 20 minutes going over border reports while Naruto nodded at the right places and contributed almost nothing useful. When Shikamaru finally left, he paused at the door. Get some real rest tonight, Hokage. The village needs you sharp. Naruto only grunted. Sakura appeared an hour later with a medical update from the hospital. She set the folder on his desk, studied his face, and frowned. Your color is high, she said bluntly. Pulse looks elevated even from here. Are you running a fever? No. She reached out as if to check his forehead. Naruto leaned back just enough to avoid the touch. Sakura's frown deepened. You're acting strange. Did something happen at home? Is Kushina-san all right? The sound of his mother's name in someone else's mouth sent an involuntary jolt through him. She's fine. I'm fine. Just tired. Sakura clearly did not believe him, but she let it go with a reluctant nod. If it gets worse, come to the hospital. No arguments. After she left, Naruto sat alone in the quiet office and stared at the wall. The day stretched ahead of him like a long, thin wire. Every hour that passed only made the empty feeling around his throat more noticeable. He kept imagining the soft click of the buckle, the weight of the chain, the calm blue eyes that already owned him. By the time the sun began to drop, he could barely sit still. The walk home felt both too short and endless. Naruto stepped through the front door, closed it behind him, and immediately dropped to his knees on the entryway tatami. He did not take off his shoes first. He did not call out. He simply knelt, head slightly bowed, and waited. Soft footsteps approached. Kushina appeared in the hallway wearing the black robe again, hair down, bare feet, silent. She looked at him for a long moment, then smiled, the small, genuine smile that still somehow made his stomach flip. Perfect, she said. You remembered without being told. Stand up. Shoes off. Collar on. Then come to the living room. He obeyed in silence. The leather settled around his throat like a missing piece clicking back into place. When he walked into the living room, she was already seated on the low couch, one leg crossed over the other, the black robe open just enough to show the inner curve of one side of her melon. "How was your day?" she asked, as if this were a normal evening conversation. "Distracting," he admitted. Shikamaru noticed. "Sakura too. I could barely concentrate." "Good." Kushina's eyes gleamed. "That means the training is working. Come here. Kneel between my knees." He did. She cupped his face with both hands and simply looked at him for a while, thumb stroking the corners of his mouth. "Tonight I am going to test your endurance a little further," she said quietly. "You will take what I give you. You will not come. And at the end I will give you a new rule to carry tomorrow. Clear?" "Yes, Mississippi." "Then undress. Slowly."